What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? So, as you can see, things are a little bit different. OBS is having issues right now. I'm gonna go ahead and start in the podcasting scene because I don't want OBS to crash again and not let me switch options. So I'll be in the actual scene to start the actual podcast itself. I definitely apologize. We'll be getting here started soon. What's going on, guys? So, like I said earlier, you're gonna have to bear with me on the whole exactly how everything looks right now. I don't know what happened with OBS, but it was definitely tripping. So let me make sure you guys can hear me fine. Waiting for Forte. He's going to be a couple minutes late like usual. But it's definitely going to be an interesting show from what everything's going on. That's for sure. It's definitely going to be an interesting show. Yeah, and I don't know. I have no clue what was going on. Like every time I would use OBS, I appreciate it, uh, Lady Firefox. Every time I would use OBS, the screen would freeze on OBS. So it was kind of a complicated scenario that I wasn't really expecting. It's never done that before, and it done it twice. So I just reset the PC. So far, it hasn't done it again, but I wouldn't hold it past it to do it again. So we're going to be talking about Xbox. The Xbox Gamepass somehow is hurting Outriders. The sales of Outriders are meeting expectations. We're going to talk about a new PlayStation exclusive that looks like might be coming into tuition. I don't know exactly 100% on that one. And the Phil Spencer interview that went on at the end of last week. We didn't really get to talk about it too much on the Iron Lords podcast. So I definitely wanted to bring it up on here. It's definitely a lot more weird that I can't rely on that starting soon screen until everything happens, man. But everything happens, obviously, as you can see here. Doing this by myself again, just like last week, for the most part. Man, I don't know, man. It's getting rough, man. It's getting rough in these streets. So what are you guys playing? That's the curiosity I have right now. What are you guys playing? Anything good? I've been playing a lot of Hades. Hades is a great game, man. It's a great game. We might talk about it a little bit briefly on the podcast when he gets here. Yeah, we're definitely gonna be talking about that out of this. Now, let me go ahead and put up this poll. Uh, we gotta wait for Gaming Forte because he taking forever. But we could just chill in here and talk about some games until he gets in here. I'll definitely have to put in the description when the podcast started. So there's that poll going out. I'll let you guys answer that. Let you answer that until he shows up. Gotta keep the show going, man. Gotta keep the show going. I don't even know why I asked, man, because to me, I already know what topic you guys are choosing. You're choosing that spicy topic, that Xbox Game Pass hurt Outriders sales. I don't blame you. We got to talk about it because a lot of things about that don't make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me. So, look, when it comes to the Hades, we'll talk about that briefly while I wait for him. I'm really feeling Hades, man. I haven't enjoyed the game this much in a while, but I've also been playing a lot of Skyward Sword, As you can see, I was streaming that on my actual channel. So shout out to the personal plug, man. Definitely go subscribe to the Gaming Addict channel because I've been putting a lot of content on there here recently. Got to get that taken care of, man. Got to put the content out. Skyward Sword, I do think that we was a little bit hard on that. I think there's a lot of things Skyward Sword has going for it, and the biggest thing they don't have going for it is that motion control. But do you feel like we'll be able to attack a game on its entirety off of one aspect? I think if that aspect's bad enough, most definitely. Like, because Skyward Sword, that motion control is just horrible. It is horrible. I dropped my phone, and it's probably gonna crack. Cause my day's definitely, it could definitely get worse. Operating on not a lot of sleep either. So let's see what people say. Yo, Hades is your 22 game of the year. Just say it. I don't know if it's my game of the year, but it's definitely one of the favorite games I've been playing. I heard anything about MMOs coming to Xbox? No, not particularly. Besides Final Fantasy 14 isn't coming and it is coming. They've changed that statement a couple times. Still dreaming. Probably the same logic when talking about piracy. Every download is a missed sell. I get that. I definitely get that. We'll get into that when, everything happens. When Forte gets here, man. We'll get to that when Forte gets here. It seems like OBS isn't messing up again. Seems like so far so good. Alright, let's see here. So far so good, man. Waiting for Forte to come in here. For the people that's showing up. We're going to be talking. There's a lot to talk about today, man. Forte needs to hurry up. I told him 5 p.m. and he's here at 5:10. How do I tell you something a day early and you still late? Let me add him and see if he's in there. No, he's not. Final Fantasy is waiting for to drop on Xbox once the 6 months exclusivity ends. Are we sure that that's happening? Like, are we positive that that game is going to be on the Xbox platform? Because at this point, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to be on the Xbox platform. I hope so. I think we can all agree that, Final Fantasy definitely needs to be on the Xbox platform. I just don't know if Microsoft bought that full-time exclusivity or not. That's the question. I don't think they would care if it went to PC, but I think they're trying to keep it off of Xbox at all costs. They can keep Godfall. I'm good on Godfall. I don't need Godfall in my life to feel accomplished. Why do Game Pass conversation mostly end badly? What exactly do you mean by why do Game Pass conversations? Like, are you talking about, like, in terms of if they sell well or something? Like, what exactly do you mean? PS Direct going live in 5 minutes. There's a Direct today? I didn't know that. Where is the Direct, sir? I'm still waiting for Final Fantasy to come to a Game Pass as promised. If it does come to Xbox, I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox makes sure it's on Game Pass day and date. Because to me, if you miss on a launch window, it's still not alright, but it does help it a little bit if it comes into the Xbox ecosystem in Game Pass. If it did miss the window, the initial launch window. Why do gamers worry about money and who's getting paid? I think that mainly just comes from the health of the company itself. Like, you do have to worry about exactly how a game sells and the semantics behind all that, because if the game doesn't do well or the company doesn't do well, then clearly they're not going to invest more into the company, and they'll eventually close down that section. So I think that's why people talk about sales to a point. But I do agree with you that we're a little bit too much when it comes to talking about the sales in general. I don't think we should be talking about sales as much as we do, but they do need to be talked about. And keep in mind, you guys, like we're content creators. We gossip about the gaming industry. We talk about the gaming industry. Uh, Pretty much, that's a lot of people's jobs here. So that is a really relevant conversation, and that I don't blame certain YouTubers for having that conversation. Outriders still has not left Game Pass yet. No, I don't think it has. I uninstalled that after I had the mad issues that I had with the game. It's definitely they need to. I felt like their priorities when that game was broken was messed up. That's just my opinion, though. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gomez, like the game was just a mess, complete mess at launch, and I don't understand why people assume that. We're not going to talk about it. I'm not going to get too much into it. Still got to wait for Forte. We're not going to talk too much into it, man. Just keep the podcast talking smoothly. We don't need to talk about the topics in the pre-show, because this shouldn't be a pre-show, but I gotta wait for Forte, so I guess it is a pre-show. That's too much. That's good. uh so what obviously you see the new PlayStation exclusive rumor. What PlayStation game would you guys want to come back? I'm curious. Tell me in that comment section, man. Or if you're definitely, if you're still here in the live chat, tell me what you guys would want to be played on there. What game? I couldn't really tell you, to be honest, on my end. I guess maybe it's just because I've never really, you know, played. I think Jack and Dexter would be my choice, actually. Now that you mention it, Mike Fury, I would definitely love a Jack and Dexter game. What is Eminem? I'm unaware of that game. Jumping Flash. I've never heard of Jumping Flash. Silent Hill would be a good thing. I don't think they would bring back Infamous. It's not old enough. Dragoon. I could see that. That would be a good game. I could totally see. They brought back Amoshu, or however you guys want to pronounce it. You guys know I can't pronounce anything to save my life. Have you played Boyfriend's Dragon? No. I hear it's a crazy game, though. I hear it's a crazy game. Trying to keep an eye on this screen for when Forte shows up so I can get him in here. Enjoy Rift Raid, but I need Jack and Sly back. Yeah, God of War Collection, the first 5 on PS5. You must be young. It's not no Jumping Flash. What, I've never heard of Jumping Flash. Let me Google this. Jumping Flash video game. Apparently there was 2 of them. Is this your king, huh? Jumping Flash? What is this? It's a crazy looking game, man. Crazy looking game. Guys got me over here looking at some crazy stuff. Sly Cooper. I could see that. That's what I'm saying. Mike Fury. Like, that game looks crazy. Twisted Metal, Resistance. I could see a Twisted Metal. I used to really enjoy Twisted Metal back in the day. Jumping Flash was a first-person platformer. Does those really work that well, though? Like, just think about the concept of a first-person platformer. I don't think that works out well. I just don't. Forte's almost here, guys. Forte's almost here. He's almost here. So let's see here. Jumping Flash. It's crazy, man. I don't play none of those old games. I just don't. You guys got to just get over that. I prayed this from software PS is not true. I think most likely that's true. Because that makes sense. They've worked together a lot. That makes sense. I always felt like the Coalition can make an army of two. I always felt like if the Coalition got their hands on an army of two, that would be really beneficial to them. An army of two. Make it, co-op. Make it extremely gory just like Gears is. I feel like that would be a good fit. Army of two and Coalition. Twisted Metal Black just sold for $4,000. That's crazy. And you know what's even insane? Like, you would have two people. You would have, in terms of these old copies of games, and then you don't think they're going to be worth a lot of money in the future, and it turns out to be worth like a lot of money in the future. Heavenly Sword was made by Ninja Theory. I've been told about Heavenly Sword a lot. But I've never played Heavenly Sword. Is this your king? I really should try it. I don't know if this game aged well, though. It does look crazy. It does look crazy, guys. I might try it. I don't know. Maybe Microsoft will let them fund a second one. That would be interesting. I would be curious to see how that goes. Very curious indeed. Let me look here. Got the God of War, man. I know a lot of you love God of War. God of War is a good game. No one can take that away from them. God of War is a phenomenal game. A lot of people don't like the new God of War 2016. But I've always enjoyed, like, the concept of it. Sure, is it different? A different God of War? Yes, it's definitely a different God of War. But I don't think that means that it's not God of War. If that makes sense to you guys. I'm going to turn my camera off for a couple minutes. Gotta wait for Forte, man. Trying to find where he... Oh, here he is. Legend of Dragoon, I would love for that to come back. Legend of Dragoon. I got a Sony 6400. Sony A6400. What sucks is I always have to like constantly readjust it. Always having to readjust it. You there, Forte? Where you at, Forte? Yeah, everything. He should definitely. I should be able to hear him. I should be able to hear him. Look at all these technical difficulties, man. Yeah, I do think we do need a Legend of Dragoon. We need that. We need that in our life. Legend of Dragoon is like a huge type of game that I think a lot of people would enjoy having back. Is that Forte? Yeah, Cognito acting like okay, he left. Oh my gosh. Play Falconeer? I don't think I'm playing that. Man, don't think I'm playing that. I just don't like the way Falconeer looks. I'm gonna be real with you. I just don't. Falconeer looks like really weird. Invite Jez, please. The grind my gears, dude. We want a balanced discourse. Look, man. I'm gonna have to refrain from that. Look, I ain't got nothing against some of the PlayStation people, but you know, it can get pretty chaotic sometimes, man. It can get pretty chaotic sometimes. I could probably get Chess Gordon. I could definitely get him on the ad. Like, it's definitely one of those long things, you know. It's not something that I could just hit him up on the last moment. Jez Gordon's actually a pretty busy dude. He's a pretty busy dude. So I guess I'll give him maybe another 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll just go ahead and start the podcast without him. Even if I have to do the whole thing by myself, it is what it is. It is what it is. Any thoughts on the new Madden? Has anyone got any thoughts on the new Madden? Anyone? I don't think you're strong enough on your own, no cap. I appreciate it, but I like bouncing off people, man. I like bouncing off people. Call Ran? Nah, I'm not gonna interrupt people, man. If anyone, it would be a PlayStation dude. What PlayStation dude should I put on this show? Which one? Which PlayStation dude should I put on this show? Curious what you guys' opinion on. It Ran is an Xbox dude. Is I'm having issues with the what's going on? Call King? Nah, it's gonna be just a. I could probably get BitCloud. Let me see. Let's see what you guys want, man. Colin, crap gamer. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all of that. Hmm. I don't. I sent him another message. Optimus Code. I could get Optimus Code on. Blaze 4K, J-Tech TV, J-Dub, BitCloud. Call me. Nah, man. Look, I got, like, if I have people on the show, man, I gotta, I gotta, what's the word I'm looking for? Gotta vent them first, man. I can't just let anyone on here. People are pretty crazy in these streets, man. Pretty crazy in these streets. Let me look here. All right, so I guess we'll just go ahead and start. I don't know what happened to Forte. He seems to be in the wind somewhere. We're not going to, we're not going to put too much thought process into it, man. Keemstar? Look, man, we ain't having Keemstar on either. Keemstar don't even know who we are. So I definitely appreciate the patience, man. So let's go ahead and talk about this Phil Spencer interview. So let's talk, chat. Let's talk about the Phil Spencer interview. How do you guys feel about the Phil Spencer interview? For those of you that don't know, he was, I think it was Games Radar, if I remember correctly. To me, he was just on there talking about, let's set it up first, man. Let's set it up first. So what happened is he came on there and he was pretty much like, what we want to talk about is we want to talk about whether or not PlayStation, their type of games, and he did bring up Nintendo, so we can't act like he didn't bring up Nintendo. Like what type of games that they need. And that Phil Spencer, he answered it in a way that people would expect him to answer it. He was pretty much like, look, we can't act like people don't want these type of games. So his word is like, look, we don't need to make clones of their games. If anything, Gamepass, it's got to be a very diverse thing. It's going in and out. What do you mean it's going in and out? Does anyone else see my audio going in and out? Or is it just him? You there, Forte? I don't know. All right, so we'll wait for him, man. We'll wait for him. So pretty much what he was saying is he was just like, look, like, we want to make as diverse libraries as possible. And that's the only way that something like Game Pass works. Is Game Pass has to be as diverse as possible so they can get as many types of audiences subscribing to that as possible. So that's how that works. And I don't think people really, they really, thought that too much through. Can you hear me, Forte?
Yeah, I hear you. Hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Jesus, man, I had my rest in peace, my Astro A50s.
Yeah,
maybe I just need to reset them.
Yeah, you sound fine. Do you can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
People in the chat said I keep going in and out. I don't know, man. Maybe you guys need to check your
Man, are you gonna tell these people they need to check their stuff, man? You can't be telling people that.
Man. Look, man, sometimes it's not me, it's them. All right? Sometimes
man.
It's not me, it's them.
What did they teach you a long time ago? The customer is always right, meaning your fans are always right.
Look, man, you have been in the retail market for a while. I'm sure there's days where you know that's not.
Oh, there's times where I'm like, I frown upon that phrase, but for about 90% of the time it's applicable.
All right, so let's break this down, man. Let's go in on the Phil Spencer interview. They did say that they wanted us to talk about the Xbox Game Pass hurt sales, but we're gonna let you guys wait on that here in a minute because I've already started talking about this Phil Spencer interview. I know you definitely watched that Phil Spencer interview. There's no way you didn't.
Yeah, I watched it.
Like what was your initial thoughts when you saw that interview?
I mean, the biggest thing for me was, for me, because I didn't check out the whole thing. Was the whole thing about that one thing, or did he dive into some other thing? Because I didn't check out the whole interview.
The whole interview wasn't exactly like, there was multiple things. I mean, he even, brought up the billions of gamers stuff.
Right.
But it was mainly.
So what particular thing are you talking about? Because I
want to talk about when he was talking about the comparison to PlayStation and Nintendo games.
Man, those games. So, look, everybody. This is the whole thing that I always try to tell people. You can't expect everybody to be the same. Like, Nintendo brings a particular asset to the market when it comes to their games, that more family oriented, pretty much pick up and play game that we've been playing since 1980. And then Sony has, their cinematic third person type of games that they make. They also have JRPGs, which Xbox did a really good job in trying to bring, probably not the JRPGs. They have brought a lot of that stuff over to their service in Gamepass, but they are trying to bridge that gap when it comes to just RPGs in general. A lot of people will tell you that they have some of the best RPG makers in the business now underneath the Xbox umbrella. So I think they've done a really, really good job in doing that. And I think, but the thing is, you can't expect Xbox to be what everybody else is. Everybody else brings something particular to the table that is benefits to them. And, I think Xbox is still finding their way when it comes to that, and I think we're going to see that over the course of the next couple of years. We're asking a lot of look, I'm not trying to sugarcoat and say that we shouldn't expect greatness from Xbox, because we should. They went out and spent this money on these studios, and people want to see exactly what these studios are going to bring and bring to fruition. But we act like these studios were just purchased 2 years ago, or 4 years ago. This is still a work in progress ever since 2018. And then you add in a pandemic that has kind of just put everything on hold for like a good year. It looks like a 2-year window now. So I like exactly what he has to say. Those things are coming. It's just going to, look, we don't want to say it, but it's just going to take time, and it's a lot of stuff that's happening in the outset. But I just think in general, they're all different. And I think that is something that a lot of people are probably just going to just glance over, because they'll be like, well, sure, they are different. But in general, it just comes back to, what do you play Xbox for? I play for the multiplayer experience. I play because of my friends that are on that platform. I feel like Xbox has one of the best services when it comes to just online infrastructure that there is. PlayStation's not too far behind, but PlayStation is more about the single player experience. Now, some people are going to say that's blasphemous. I play Call of Duty over there. I play Destiny over there. I play all these games on my PlayStation 5 and my PlayStation 4, but that's not what the community is built around. Everybody, I can go on my PlayStation 5 right now, and not most of the people over there aren't in parties. They're playing games by themselves, which is nothing wrong with, but I'm not used to that type of infrastructure when it comes to Xbox, because I can, if I want to play by myself, I can, but for the most part, I'm playing with other people.
Do you think that it's main, when we talk, because I get the same thing, I don't feel like PlayStation is more social than Xbox, but do you think maybe that's just because we're not on PlayStation full time like that? Maybe like Jabari and them, they're always in parties, and PlayStation feels social to them because they're always there. But to me, it's a pain to even get in parties on.
Well,
on
that's
PlayStation now.
They completely changed the system. When it was PlayStation 4, granted, I wasn't in parties like that on PlayStation 4, but I don't even remember. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, I have not been in a PlayStation 5 party since I had my PlayStation 5, just because it's so convoluted to actually get people into a party. You have to start up a party. Even if you're not, and then say if your friends have a group that they're already in a party with, they have to send you an invite to it and all this other stuff, and then or they got to start a completely new party, and that's neither here or there. I do agree with you though. I do think people like Bari and Persona and J-Dub and all those people that do play on PlayStation, they will argue against the fact that there is a community over there, but I think it's just the fact that our level of community was based on 2001 when Xbox Live first launched, and we built a, like, not a following, but just a understanding of what that ecosystem looks like. And the one thing that Microsoft hasn't really let us down on is the ecosystem of Xbox Live. You know, when it comes to the games, yes, but people keep forgetting, predominantly 90% of the games you play are third party, and we had some really good third party games over the course of the last couple of generations that really helped us make it through the doldrums of what Xbox was giving us. It wasn't that we just chose to play on Xbox. We were just used to the experience of being social with people on Xbox. And it's the same thing for people on PlayStation. If you never came over to Xbox and you stayed on PlayStation, you will argue the opposite thing. It's just that it is kind of widely known that Xbox Live has kind of been a standard, and PlayStation basically really picked that up during the last generation.
Yeah, I agree with you to a point. You know, I think that people don't give Call of Duty enough props. Like, I might not like Call of Duty, but Call of Duty really pushed the PlayStation, the Xbox, really big on the Xbox. It pushed the whole first person shooter market forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel like you don't get that same thing. But let's backpedal a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when it comes to Phil Spencer, like, I don't necessarily think he was saying we're not going to make these type of games. Like, I think he was just saying we need Game Pass to be a diverse platform. We don't need to do what PlayStation's doing.
Exactly.
And because PlayStation doesn't have to worry about having multiple different genres because they're focusing on one genre that's really popular. So, to me, that's why PlayStation doesn't switch things up a whole lot. But at the same time, Microsoft does have to worry about that. They do have to worry about getting all these variety of different games into Game Pass and keeping all of these different gamers happy with these type of games so they continue to subscribe to Game Pass. And that's why they bought as many studios as they bought. We're seeing, a little bit of the fruits of the labor probably in the next year. But I don't think that, he came out there and he was just saying, yo, Forte, they just make them so well we're not even going to try. Like, I don't think that's how that went. I think for the most part, they're going to make those type of games, but it's not going to be to the degree that some PlayStation fanboys want. Because when some of these PlayStation fanboys talk, you would really feel like they only play one type of game. They never play anything else. And when they see a game that's not that type of game, they're automatically turned off by it and they don't want to play it. And look, gaming is a very selfish thing. Very, very selfish hobby. But at the same time, we do got to realize that not everybody likes that type of gameplay. I think that Microsoft wants their bread and butter to be RPGs. Would you not agree with that?
That's what they want it to be now. Here, let me take care of somebody that's in the chat. You gots to go, brother. I don't know what's going on with you. Remove you. But no, I agree. Like I said, the biggest thing that it always comes back to is like I said, Xbox doesn't have to be what everybody else is. They just need to be Xbox, and Xbox just need to figure out exactly what their new normal is. It was shooters, it was online multiplayer. Now they have Game Pass where they have to diverse a lot more of the portfolio on top of what they're doing inside of Game Pass, but in the but in the acquiring of games that go into the service that are going to fit the service the way they want it to fit. That's why I said last week on Brap, I think a game like when they go to Gamescom, I think a game like Aliens Fireteam would be a really good game for Game Pass because it fits the narrative of what Game Pass is, just like Outriders did and everything else, games like that, the social aspect. Not saying it's going to happen, but those are the type of games and experiences actually right now that fit that narrative until Microsoft comes up with a solution of how they want to nurture that across the whole player base.
Yeah, and it's like I said, like, I feel like Game Pass is going to open doors to a lot of things that normally wouldn't have doors open. I feel like, indies going to feel a little bit more comfortable making games if they can already get in Game Pass. Because we've seen, especially indies, like, they make a lot of their profit off just Game Pass. Like if they're able to get their game in Game Pass, they've already pretty much funded their project. So I think we'll see
Right.
more of that in the future. Just real quick before we go on to the next topic, do you think that though that Microsoft, once this engine starts throwing out not first person games, but the first party games, do you think that we'll see more the same amount of games coming into Game Pass that we see now, or do you think that once they get these games out of their first party starting to come out pretty consistently, you think they'll fall back a little bit?
I think it's the opposite. I think instead of them having to chase games for Game Pass, I think those studios and those publishers will want to be in Game Pass then, because right now, third party is pretty much carrying Game Pass. Now, that will probably change a little bit during the holidays because you got games like Halo and Forza going into it day and date. But the more Xbox get games in there and the more that they get their subscription numbers up just by harvesting the games that they actually have and they produce, if they can grow this to 30, 40, 50 million with just their games, then you're going to see those third parties saying, yo, we want to be in Game Pass. You know, what does it take for us to be in there, versus Xbox going to them saying, hey, what would it take for us to get your game to come into this service? I think a lot of studios and a lot of publishers want their games to go in there, but they don't want to be the main draw, and they want to be other reasons for people to go in there, because then it keeps people subscribed to the subscription, because more downloads they get, depending on the deal they got with Xbox, they can get more eyes on their games and stuff, or more revenue based on how many downloads and clicks they get. So I think it's twofold. I just think that if Xbox puts out better games and they get more of their games in there, that's going to bring more third party, because it's like the rich gets richer at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, I personally feel like they'll cool back a little bit on terms of like, I don't think we'll see a lot of MLB The Shows
I think the
and
indies
Outriders.
I think the indies will definitely still be there. Now, when it comes to like the stuff you said, like MLB and Outriders,
I think you might see one or two a year, if that.
yeah, unless those third parties come to them, like maybe a brand new IP that they want to debut in Game Pass, you probably wouldn't see. I dig the differ on MLB. I think MLB and sports games, depending on how MLB did and depending how some of these other games do, that do launch in there, I think you could see that become a norm, because they are just annual updates. And we always say the best sports game would be a updated sports game every year, instead of having to pay that $60 every year to get something like that. And I think services like Game Pass or even PlayStation Now can definitely benefit games like that. But when it comes to like those bigger third party games, unless it's a brand new IP, I do agree with you. You'll see less of those, but indie games, you'll get a bunch of those.
Yeah, so speaking of games in general and exclusives, looks like PlayStation might be having an old game come back, man. Sly Cooper has been rumored to be coming back into the ecosystem. First off, do you believe this rumor? Because how many years have Sly Cooper almost been coming back, not coming back? Like, I feel like this is like people's go-to. And keep in mind, talking about PlayStation insiders too. So we gotta keep that with a grain of salt, and I mean a grain of salt, like the whole damn bin of salt. Keep in mind, this isn't really official by any means whatsoever. It's just when I did see that, I did think that would be a good game to come back, and I feel like PlayStation letting that come back would prove to me that they are going to still take chances, because it does look like they want to go more towards the, if we can't make money and it's not highly rated, we're not doing it. So I feel like if they brought back Sly, I would feel more comfortable in the fact that they are going to take these risks. That these games might not necessarily sell the greatest, but they do want to introduce and be diverse in their platform. What do you feel about Sly Cooper coming back, and do you feel like if it's a true thing or not?
No, it definitely should be a thing. The biggest thing is, what was Thieves in Time was on PS3, right? That was the last time they released it, right? So honestly, it just comes back to, those are the type of games that are really hit or miss. It just depends on It's got a cult following, but how big is the cult following? You know, at a certain point, it comes back to like with Xbox, people. We keep saying, "Oh man, they should bring back Conquer," but how many people actually want to play Conquer? That's what it comes down to.
I've always felt like Conquer will bomb if it comes back.
But that's what it comes down to. So would it be a great gesture to bring this game back? You know, bring the trilogy back, bring the Sly Cooper collection or something, just like they did with Ratchet and Clank and everything like that. I think that would be cool. Bringing it back as a PlayStation collection game would be another thing. But ultimately, it really comes down to, unless they're going to remake these games, I mean, probably not Part 3, because Part 3 still looks pretty good because it was on the Vita and it was on PlayStation 3, so it's not that old. But unless you're going to remake the first and second one, it kind of just comes back to that whole, you know, why can't we just play PS3 games on our PS5s digitally at this point? So I think they need to remake them, not remaster them, because they are a little bit older. But it also just comes back to what people are interested in this, just like it is for Xbox and a whole bunch of their games. Banjo-Kazooie, a lot of people want that. How many people are actually going to play it? You know, we saw the numbers for Returnal.
We're not going there.
Oh no, well yeah, we're not gonna get. I know you love you. Banjo-Kazooie definitely. Look, if they can put Banjo-Kazooie on Smash Brothers, they can definitely bring it back to Xbox.
I actually feel like Banjo-Kazooie came back with a good budget and a good team making it. It like, okay, if they don't want to remake if they don't want to make a third one, okay. But right. I do feel like if they've redone the first one from the ground up in a new engine, like Unreal Engine 5, like, I feel like it would do well. I feel like, you know, we have been in a little bit of a decline in terms of platformers. Like, we have some, but not a whole lot. And especially on Xbox, we don't have a whole lot of platforms on Xbox in general. So I think a high-quality Banjo would open up a lot of eyes that some of these older IPs can last. And keep in mind, like, Banjo is a very cartoony-looking game. So yeah. I think, you know, in Gamepass, it would reach to an audience in terms of, you know, some kids.
Well, it would speak to that. It would speak to that Nintendo crowd of gamers that always wonder, like, oh, what games can I play on my PlayStation or my Xbox that are, you know, more kid friendly? And I always tell people there's a couple, but for the most part, you just want to get a Switch if you want to be on the safe side when it comes to that. But the thing really comes back to me is who's going to make this game? Who would actually make this game? Because we know Sucker Punch is the original architect of it, but they're busy with, you know, games like Ghost of Tsushima and other things like that. I think they're focused forward. They had the San Zero Studios games. They made the games from 2010 to 2013. So who really knows what's going to happen with that? They got to have a studio that actually can produce these games. They just acquired Nixxes. Now that's one avenue to remaster the games or redo the games to be brought up to PlayStation 5 or even over to PlayStation 4. Point. Yeah, but they haven't. Well, yeah, I mean, if they actually come out and announce that finally, that they accidentally put up a screenshot of the wrong studio, it just say we acquired Blue Point at this point, it would be a PlayStation studio. They wouldn't go. That's the thing. They would have to be a PlayStation studio that does it, because I don't see PlayStation going out of their way to hire and contract that out to a third party, because they don't know how good the game is going to sell on its own. At least if they do it internally, they lose a little bit less money. I think they will sell a lot of them. It just depends on how much they're actually looking that they would do.
Give me 3 seconds.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, guys, I I asked you guys the question, you know, they did bring games like, what was the name of that game? What was the name of the game that they remade 3 times? They made it for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. They remastered it a couple of times with the giants in it. I forget the name of it.
Colossal.
Shadow of Colossus. They remade that game multiple times. Like, you would think if they could now, granted, that game is more geared towards the hardcore a little bit more. Not so much. And I'm not going to say that Sly Cooper is geared towards the younger audience, but it has a younger audience appeal by the aesthetic of the game. But then again, you got games like Ratchet and Clank that are the same way. they appeal more to a younger crowd, even knowing older people do play them. So they pick and choose the games that they want to do. I just don't know what kind of sales Sly had behind it for them to do it, but it would be nice to do. They shown the capacity to actually bring back old IPs and, you know, try to revitalize them. So anything can really happen with this one.
I feel like if anyone's to do this, it would be PlayStation, because it does feel like, you know, they do value their older games a little bit more than Xbox, and not necessarily Xbox doesn't value them. Like, you know, they put a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of research and development behind, you know, backwards compatibility. They're always trying to find ways to improve older games. But as far as like bringing back an older game and like putting a lot of money behind it, I feel like PlayStation does seem to do that a little bit better, because they have a whole studio dedicated to it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm curious to see, you know, because I do think Microsoft is making a Banjo. I'm just curious when it would come out.
Right.
To me, at this point, you've seen mad people talk about it. There's no reason not to do it, because I feel like a high budgeted Banjo is still like a low budgeted AAA game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you would have to take a whole lot of time doing it. And it's like I mentioned earlier, man, if you feel like it's too much of a risk putting that kind of money out to really do the game, you know, justice and make a sequel, just remake the first one from the ground up, reimagine it too. You could add some stuff to it. Just don't get too crazy, because I don't like when studios, you know, they go a little bit too extra.
Who makes it for Xbox?
I think
Rare already said they ain't doing it.
Yeah, but Rare's leadership said they ain't doing it.
That's true.
I feel like if you went there and you found someone passionate about it, like, you know, like someone that's been there a while, that's just looking for an opportunity to make his name, and you know, and then you went to Double Fine, and you know, you asked some people over there who would want to make it because they have a lot of interesting and platform, and you just have like like those two studios, maybe, you know, people from both studios come together and make Banjo, and you know, then after you get that, you know, that core developing scene, then what you do is you hire a couple more people to help them. And, you know, I think that it would really benefit them a lot to have that game, because at the end of the day, I do think we need something like a Ratchet and Clank on PlayStation and Xbox. Not necessarily that. I think this is what Phil Spencer's talking. Like, we don't need to make that type of Ratchet and Clank game. But they do have stuff like Banjo that could be their kind of a Ratchet and Clank game, but not copying PlayStation. And I think that, you know, Phil Spencer wants to do more of that than he wants to just copy a formula because it's successful. You know, I think once Avowed comes out, once Elder Scrolls comes out, once Starfield comes out, you're going to see a lot more people back off of Microsoft needs to make type of Sony games, because the main thing people want to see right now is just make good games in general. And I think once Microsoft starts putting out decent to really good games, such as Avowed, you know, Fable, Perfect Dark, you'll start to see more people have less and less to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, obviously, man, we got to talk about the bread and butter, because I feel like this is going to be a 30-minute conversation.
It's going to be the most dumbest 30-minute conversation we ever going to have, but let's go.
So,
did you check out the Twitter space today?
No, I was asleep.
Oh man.
What's funny is, like, I was listening to it and I fell asleep.
That's probably one of the main reasons you fell asleep.
And that's not necessarily talking about anyone there. I worked an 8 to 12 to 8, so I was working off 8 hours. Then I went to the gym right after that, worked out for about an hour and a half. Then I came home and passed out on my bed because I wanted to hear the conversation. I didn't get to hear a whole lot of it. Did you hear a lot of it?
I caught the last 30 minutes, like last 20 minutes of it.
Look, all right, let's break this down. First off, I want to point out that I invited Code onto here to defend his points, because I know Code's always extra about everything. I wanted some form of a balancing beam, and then low key I wanted me and Forte to team up on Code. But you know, he decided he decided that he didn't want to respond to my messages. This man responds to my messages all the time, but for this particular time, he was ghost. I'm not saying yo man Code was hiding from Addict, but I'm saying he was hiding from Addict. So I'm sure I'm gonna probably try to get Code on here next week. I gotta break down stuff. I gotta find out what's in Code's mind, man. I gotta do it. Code be saying some off the wall stuff on Twitter. I gotta find out how the mind of Code works. So let's talk about this, man.
All right.
They came out as in people who can fly. That's the people who make Outriders. It's very important to distinguish the people who make it and the people who published it. And they said they haven't got any royalties from Square Enix. And then what's the first thing people say? Well, this game came on Gamepass. So automatically people assume that because of the being on Gamepass, the sales was lacking. So that's why they're not paying royalties, because they haven't made their expectation. Keep in mind, Forte. Mm-hmm. This is the same company that said, as in Square Enix, because now I'm talking about Square Enix. This is the same company that dropped the bomb on Marvel. Yep. This is the same company that said they needed 8 million copies, and that was their expectations for Tomb Raider. So all these years, people have been saying Square Enix is out of their mind. But now, when they don't meet expectations with a game, and because that game so happened to be on Game Pass, now it's issues. Now it's Game Pass is bombing the sales, which is funny. Forte, tell me throughout the past 4 or 5 years, even before Game Pass, what was a lot of these PlayStation fanboys were saying? Xbox people don't buy games.
They don't buy games.
So now these are the same people wanting me to think the missing component to these games selling is Xbox gamers not buying them. I thought we didn't buy games, so why does it matter? Let me hear your opinion on this, man, because this is some of the craziest stuff I've seen in a while.
Yo, so it's crazy. Okay, yeah, it's crazy for me. Being a person that has Game Pass, have it all the way to 2023, not ashamed of it. I ain't buying no games if I ain't got to. If it's going to show up in Game Pass, I'll wait for it. Now, if it's not going to be a Game Pass, I'm going to be there day one and I'm going to still buy it day one. I just never understood the argument around people that want to save money. I have people that walk into the store every day asking for a deal on something like, hey, is it possible you could do it for this price? Is it a little bit cheaper? Look, man, that's just the way of just everything. People, no one wants to pay full price. So everybody to be out here acting like they're all, what's the word I'm looking for? They're all like above it all when it comes to like spending money. I'm like, no, listen, man, people spend money on the things that they like. If you are a fan of a particular thing, you're going to spend money on it no matter what. It has nothing to do about $70 games or anything like that, because that's just a bunch of capping. It's just the fact that Game Pass is a great service and it allows people to try games that they probably normally wouldn't have tried before. And going back to this whole Outriders thing, I didn't hear, maybe Outriders didn't do as well as they thought it probably should have did, is because your game didn't work 90% of the time. Let's be for real here. You had prime time real estate. I literally gave you the front of the store. I let you put your game in the front glass. Everybody that walked by the store saw it, and they had an opportunity to try it and download it and play it for their membership price. And what happened? People's inventories were disappearing. Shout out to Lord Cognito for giving them a week, which actually took 2 weeks, almost an entire month for him to get his stuff back. I still to this day can't log into the game, so I just completely stopped playing the game in general. So maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that, your game didn't do as well, because the public outcry for not being able to participate in the game that's part of a service might have just went completely poof. And they just said, I'm not about to recommend this game to nobody anymore. It's stuff like that. Go ahead.
To me, this game was mid as hell from the start. got a lot of good concepts, a lot of good going for, great foundation that I would love for them to build off of. But the game came out busted. What's one of the number one things that sell games? Word of mouth. Unless you was on Game Pass, I wasn't selling this to anyone. Yo, tell me why I should buy Outriders, addict. It crashes all the time. I don't know, man. Like,
what did you hear? What did you hear most people on Twitter saying? Like even recently, like a month ago, not even a month ago, like 2 weeks ago, people were saying, "Yo, man, Outriders was fun. I liked it, but I'm glad I didn't pay for that because I would be pissed if I had to spend $60 on a game that I barely got a chance to play for the last month."
I think, if anything, and I know this is going to be crazy, I think if anything, Game Pass helped this game.
Oh, it absolutely did. It did more than people think it did.
I think Game Pass sold more copies than people let on. For some reason, people think millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of Xbox gamers is going to buy this game in the first place. We don't have that information. We don't know who was going to buy this game and who wasn't going to buy this game. For all we know, this game was going to bomb on Xbox just like it bombed on PlayStation. But the only difference is you could arguably say, if we knew how much money that they paid Square Enix to get this game, you could arguably say that they might have made more money off Xbox than they made off PlayStation because of the influence of cash that they got for putting these on Game Pass. Like, to me, we don't have enough information to say this or to say that. It's like, look, like, we don't know. For all we know, Square Enix could just be doing what corporations do best, hold their money. I mean, we've seen multiple companies throughout the years do whatever they can to pay the developers bonuses and stuff. Have they not? So
no,
this could literally just be Square Enix is like, people can walked up to Square Enix and be like, yo, let me hold something. And Square is like, you can hold this plane ticket back to your place. Like,
oh my God.
So we don't know what's going on. I don't think Game Pass had it. If anything, I think Game Pass helped to get to more audiences. To me, Game Pass got a lot of Game Pass gave Outriders a lot more wiggle room because it was in Game Pass. Because if this game would have dropped the way it was, the people that are playing this on Game Pass, that they would have bought this, a lot of them would have returned the game. But because it's on Game Pass, people didn't really have that option because they didn't pay for it, so they didn't have to return it. I think that there's a lot of things going on here that people aren't looking at. And at the end of the day, I don't think Game Pass can be held responsible for this. There's multiple variables saying why this game did what it did. For instance, like I said, game was busted at launch. Game was a good concept in terms of how the game should have ran, but it didn't do it well. Game had game-breaking bugs to where people didn't have access to the game that some people actually paid for. Game also is published by a company that has been famous for unrealistic expectations on terms of sales. So how is people automatically, all of a sudden, through all these years, Forte, we've always said Square Enix is on something, game after game. Remember they said that Final Fantasy 15 had to make 15. They had to sell 10 million units just to make profit or something like that. I don't know, but that could be a unique situation because of how long it took that game to be made. But anyway, that's 10 million. To me, I feel like they expected more out of Outriders than they got. And I know, sure, is there people out there that would have picked that game up on Game Pass that would have bought that game? Of course. I'm not going to say that this game didn't have some loss of sales because it's on Game Pass. I'm saying that there are people that played this game on Game Pass and picked it up. Those are facts. Mm-hmm. There are people that would not have played this game and probably got their friends to pick this game up because of what they played in Game Pass. And we can't imagine the big giant bag that Microsoft dropped off at Square Enix to get this game on Game Pass. People want to act like that last one doesn't exist. Game Pass is ran like a business. They consider how much potential the game has to succeed on Game Pass, and they consider how many people would have bought it, and 9 times out of 10, that is what they give them. Keep in mind, this was one of the first AAA titles, if not the first one, to come on Game Pass. So you know they got a bag. This game failed because of the stuff this game had issues with. This game didn't fail because of Game Pass.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. Cat Daddy or Elder Cat, can't call you Cat Daddy, man. Elder Cat says, I bought it on Steam and had no regrets. And there's a lot of people like that. I know, shout out to Slummo, he bought it on Steam. A lot of people bought the game on different platforms and stuff, and it didn't hurt the game sales anywhere else, you know. And if everybody remembers correctly, it still topped the chart for Xbox the week it came out in sales. Now, did it have a long-lasting tail, something like NBA or Grand Theft Auto or even a Ratchet & Clank or Returnal? No, because I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the game just wasn't in a good place. I mean, within the first month, we saw a bunch of issues with the game and stuff. Now, if that game ran flawlessly, who knows how many people would buy it and pick it up. And somebody else said it in the chat. He was talking about how once it leaves Game Pass, they probably get another boost. And they're absolutely right. You know, once it leaves Game Pass, the true people that really love that game and really didn't have any of the issues that the game had, those people, if they still play it like King and stuff like that, they'll probably go out and still buy the game the day it leaves Game Pass, and they'll recoup a lot of their sales back that way too. But to sit here and make it seem like Game Pass did not help this game, it literally opened up a possibility for people that never even thought they even knew what this game was. You know, that's what Game Pass did. It's not just about it being Xbox flipped the bill to put it in there. Xbox literally opened up another avenue for people to try a game that they probably didn't even have an option or even thought about playing.
You know what's funny too? Let's get this $5 super chat from Thanarios. I definitely butchered your name. We're gonna move on though. We need to start separating Square Enix from Eidos. I think those are the people that make.
He's right about that.
Deus Ex Mankind Divided and stuff. Square does the RPG while Eidos does Outriders, Tomb Raider, etc. Look, I think Square Enix just needs to be a better publisher. Mm-hmm. I think that they do too much stuff, and they're not involved in too much stuff at the same time. I feel like Square Enix is probably most likely. I'm going to say they're definitely the culprit in this scenario. They probably had too high of expectations, and they probably do that intentionally so they don't have to pay royalties to the degree that they should have to pay them. You know, I'm not going to say that what they're doing is right or wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of contract they've signed. I don't know what any of that. But what I do know is sometimes these corporations can do slimy stuff for money. And, Outriders definitely is one of those things that I really enjoyed the concept, but it just wasn't a good game. It was average. Right. I think one of the issues that they had is they didn't want to step into the games as a service area. They're on Twitter saying they're not a games as a service, but they're operating like a games as a service with patches and stuff. It's like, just be honest. If this is a games as a service, just tell us. I feel like some people probably didn't re-download or didn't buy it because they didn't see. Like, to me, when you're telling people that generally play these type of games, which is your games as a service type of people, that this game isn't going to be that type of game. But at the same time, because that's the people you're going to appeal to, the Destiny folks, the Division folks. But you're telling those same people, this isn't like Destiny, this isn't like Division, this isn't a games as a service. You got people like myself that's like, then why should I buy it? There's no future in this game.
Yeah. Shout out to the homeboy Randall Thor. He just put something on Twitter responding to Dreamcast guy saying Dreamcast was talking about how it bombed, and then Randall said, which is weird considering Square said Outriders was on track to become the company's next major franchise. Do you say that if the game was bombing hard? I remember them saying that. So what happened over the course of the last 2 months after this game came out. All the things we talked about, you know, like Elder Cat once again talked about. He said, "Dumb nurse hurt its longevity, put 100 hours in, and they nerfed all of my T15 builds. I never went back." And Elder Cat was one of those people that would bring people into the game. He actually paid for it and would actually get people to try the game out on whatever platform, because guess what? It was cross-play compatible with everything. So no matter where you play, you were able to play with people like him. And he even stopped talking about it. So if your hardest core fans stop talking about it, what you think going to happen to your long-term sales?
Keep in mind, that is another issue that they had. This game is not functioning right. People are getting locked out of the screen. People aren't being able to play it. People are constantly crashing every couple minutes. And the first thing they announce is, here's the patch notes. Here's the loot drop fixes. I'm like, say what? Game's not working. No one cares about the loots. We care about the game working. Right. You know, I can understand you could do two things. But to me, you don't announce it. You have two teams working on both things, which technically to me, you should have had everyone on deck to fix the game. But I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I can't speak for a company if I'm not part of that company. Right. To me, I would have just kept the patch notes on the down low. You know? Right. Because to me, they were trying to fix the longevity of the game. If people use these exploits and got all the best stuff in the first couple weeks, the game's dead. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, at the same time, that is an environment you created. That's an environment that you didn't fix when the game was, before it was launched. So at the end of the day, that is a sword you're going to have to fall on. Because your priority should be to fix the game to keep people in the game. For instance, if you wouldn't have been doing all these patch notes and you would have fixed the game, Cat Daddy would still have his broken ass combos, and he would still be playing that, getting people into the game. Cat Daddy could have potentially domino effect another 10 to 15,000 people to play that game. He brings 5 to 10 people on to play. Yo, this game's good. You got Gamepass, you know, buy it, let's play it. He gets 10 people. Those 10 people get another 10 people. But when you cut the head off the Hydra, and he ain't doing it because of the bad decisions that you're making, then guess what? It never goes anywhere from there. So I said word of mouth sells more consoles, more games than a lot of people think. And this game was a very hard sell if you wasn't in Game Pass in general.
Yeah. I agree.
So let's break it down. If you were to blame anyone, who would you blame? Like 100%.
Oh, if someone had to take all the blame?
Yes.
All the blame. I mean, look, you really can't give nobody all the blame. I think if anything, if you want to give some of the blame and divvy it out, because nobody can take 100% of this. If you wanted to give some of this to Xbox, 10% of it, just because
I feel like
I think they should take 10% just because of the fact that it was a game. It's kind of been a narrative with them when it comes to games launching in Game Pass. We always want them to do a little bit better with the quality control. I don't have a problem with the games that they're. Yeah, that's my only issue. Like the quality control.
Like Outriders.
Exactly.
Like, it's like, come on, man. Like Microsoft, exactly. I love Game Pass, but you do got to start quality controlling better. Like, I guess maybe because they consider some of these games like real big. Like have a lot of people working on it, they don't have to do that as much.
Well, because it makes your service look bad after so many games like that. You know, a lot of people looked at it kind of funny when Ascent came out and did the same thing games like Outriders did. So it's like, are you a service for games, or are you a service for buggy games that we got to test and patch out before they actually start working right? And then some of them, like Outriders, really never work for people. So 10% I give to them, but then I have to give at least 50% to People Can Fly, because they're the ones that built this game. And they were the lords of their own kingdom when it came to this game. They had all of the accolades when the game first launched, even when people weren't able to play the game, people liked the game. Like, I like Outriders. I love the overall gameplay loop inside of it. But when people are met with black screens and jumping in parties with friends and getting booted all the way to the dashboard where you're trying to do some of the hardest content in the game, it's very disheartening to see that happen. And then when you got to wait, like some people, 3-4 weeks for your inventory to come back, at that point, people then checked out. So most of the blame has to go to People Can Fly when it comes to the game in general. But then Square Enix picks up the rest of it because their expectations of the game was kind of off.
What do you think a fix is to these games being broken? Like,
I'm done with games being needed to be fixed, man.
I feel like, dude, it's too much. Like,
it just needs to work.
It's got to the point where I can understand maybe 1 to 2 a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, multiplayer games having serious networking issues. I usually give them a pass because you could do internal testing, you could do testing in general. You can't anticipate how many people you're actually going to have. But, like, to me, there's too many games coming out on, like, a technical side broken. And I think it's got to be addressed. We're having way too many games. We had Returnal do it this year, Outriders, Ascent. I mean, there's probably more I'm just not thinking. It's like, look, like, those are just 3 of some of the biggest games that came out this year. And it's just like, where, I mean, not to mention last year's fiasco called Cyberpunk. I think that, you know, if a game is broken to this extent that a lot of these games are, I feel like automatically the person who bought them should be refunded half the game. And I feel like these platform holders need to start enforcing stuff like that, or taking it off the store, because to me, we've gotten to this point where no one's checking anyone. Microsoft's letting games go. Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo, they're letting broken games get on their platform. Publishers are publishing broken games intentionally, and developers, they're the ones that get the shit end of the stick because they don't want the game broken, but most of the time they're not giving enough time to actually properly make the game function correctly. So it's just like, where is the time where it's enough? And I think we've been there for a while. But that's why I respected PlayStation so much. Because when that happened, sure, they did it for their own selfish reasons. But I saw potential. I saw, okay, you know, maybe this will start happening more in the future, where if you release a broken game and there's too much bad stuff happening, guess what we gonna do? We gonna remove your stuff off the platform. And until it's fixed, that's when it's put back on. How long you think if that's happened, you know, with every game that's broken, how long you think it would take for these games to come out actually working?
I don't have any hope on these games coming out working as it is already. How much longer?
I think if they released Broken Mess, that Microsoft, Steam, PlayStation, and Nintendo would yank they shit off of their platform so fast until it's fixed, they would delist it. I think they would stop doing this.
They would stop doing it.
I think people would naturally delay the game because it needs to be delayed, because it's more beneficial to get those sales of the game not getting delisted than it is for them to release it. Then it's Broken Mess. Then they get it delisted. And I think that, you know, that is going to hit them more than anything else. But at the end of the day, why would PlayStation people, why would Xbox people, and why would Nintendo people intentionally delist games that they make 30% off of? So it's a rough thing, man. It's a rough thing. You know, got a bonus topic for you, man. Got a bonus topic.
Let's go. Bonus topic. Let's go.
Game Pass, obviously we were talking about, you know, quality control of Game Pass, but I think games like Hades is going to be the prime example why Game Pass is so successful. Like, Hades is such a good game, and I want to talk about Hades for a couple minutes because, like, let me clear the air when it comes to my Returnal versus Hades message. For all the PlayStation people in that comment section that got an issue with that, hold that L. Because at the end of the day, nothing I said was wrong. All I said was, look, in my opinion, I can understand why hardcore roguelike people said Returnal was missing a lot of roguelike features. And to me, I personally feel like Hades is a better game than Returnal. There was nothing wrong with that statement. You will never make me think there's anything wrong with that statement. And I personally just feel like, look, like Hades has a lot going for it. And you don't really, like, I didn't play a whole lot of roguelike games, Forte. I didn't know what to look for.
Right.
But Hades has such a good environment. Like, it's so good that I'm like, I can see why it got elected for Game of the Year. Like, it's definitely one of those things that, like, you know, we need more games like that, man. Like, I want Microsoft, I want people to really start trying to go above and beyond to fund more of these type of games. You know what I'm saying? And you know, what is your opinion on Hades? And do you think that, you know, we can expect more really popular, you know, really popular indie games to come in Game Pass? Like, keep in mind, 12 Minutes is coming out Friday.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be an interesting game. Hopefully it'll work.
A lot of people have been looking forward to it.
So what is your opinion on all that?
I played it on Switch. It was great then. It's great now. I haven't got a chance to boot it up. Actually, I haven't installed. I'm looking at the title screen right now on Xbox. I watched a couple people stream it and play it. It's incredible. It was a great experience to play through the initial time. I just think in general, when I saw it coming to Game Pass, I was like, okay, now this is the type of game that you definitely want to see inside of Game Pass. I think Supergiant did an amazing job with the aesthetic of the game, with the systems in the game. Everything flowed together very nicely. Combat is very satisfying. It just really comes down to, are you a type of person that likes games like this? And that's kind of seems to be the kind of crush with the whole situation, you know, especially when it comes back to Returnal. People either love it or they hate it. There's really no in between when it comes to like certain types of roguelites and stuff. But from the moment I played it the first time on Switch, I was like, this is a great game. When they did Game of the Year last year and I saw it up there, I was like, yo, that game has a really good chance of winning. It just has some really stiff competition versus the other games that was on that list that it was coming out against. But this is the type of game that they definitely want in Game Pass. This is the type of games that they need in Game Pass. They kind of just need to buffer the overall quality of some of the games lately that have been hitting the service, because, you know, games like Death's Door would have been a great, not saying it should have been in Game Pass, but indie games like quality. The quality, yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, Death's Door, that's the perfect type of game, like quality wise, that should be in Game Pass. Doesn't mean it had to be there, but those are the type of games that we want to see in there. And it doesn't, and the one thing I kind of been noticing about like bigger third party games is most of them always, it's like such big budgets, so time restraints, you know, the whole sicky that's going on around in the world. A lot of people, it's a lot of pressure on these developers to get these games out. It's a lot of pressure on these publishers to get these games out. And I know we want to see these bigger games like Battlefield and, you know, not Uncharted, but Battlefield and what's the name, Outriders and stuff in there, MLB and stuff like there. But, you know, maybe those are the games that we kind of need to steer clear of for the time being until we get, you know, a little bit more control around those games, because we don't know what we're going to get from a third party perspective when it comes to these bigger games compared to these smaller, you know, more crafted experiences like Hades and Death's Door. You kind of know what you're going to get. And then, like you said, when 12 Minutes comes out, I kind of expect it to be the same thing. And if it isn't, then it would just be another smudge on what's going on with Microsoft in general. But overall, I think this is the direction they should go in, because I think once their first party starts releasing games, you're going to see a higher quality ceiling. At least we hope, when it comes to Microsoft first party games, and then all the indie games they fill it in on the back end with.
Yeah, so speaking of Game Pass, did you see the speculation going on in the Destiny community that this, because on the 23rd, I think, the 23rd or 24th, when's the stream?
Yeah, new season.
So apparently it's rumored that, what's not rumored, it's like a lot of speculation going on right now that they're going to announce that Witch Queen is going into Game Pass day and date. You think that might happen?
Look, man, ever since Game Pass, ever since Destiny went into Game Pass, Xbox went from being the least, well, outside of Stadium, went from being the least play platform to being tied for the first and second play platform of all of the platforms it's on. It went from being sub 250,000 people playing it daily to well over 350,000, sometimes eclipsing 400,000, which is higher than the PlayStation 4 version of the game is. So Game Pass definitely helped the Xbox when it comes to Game Pass and just Destiny in general. So it's kind of this symbiotic relationship. But I also know that they have some stuff coming up next season when it comes to a lot of the Halo stuff, like the pistol and stuff that kind of got leaked in there, some skins and stuff. So a lot of that stuff I think, kind of coincides with something like this, with Witch Queen being announced to probably come in there day and date. I don't think Bungie lost in this at all because the game is already free to play for the most part. And all you're doing is giving away a DLC to 33% of your player base because everybody else has to pay for it on other platforms.
Yeah, and I think, we all know, well, I don't know if everyone knows, but Bungie is working on another game. It's like Codename Matter or something like that. And I do think that, the studio's stretched thin. They're trying to, constantly work on Destiny and, work on Matter as well. So I think Microsoft probably pulled in there. It's like, yo, if you let that Game Pass, you keep that Destiny on Game Pass, I'll help you. I'll help you fund Destiny. I think, conversations like that might be happening because obviously it's not cheap to make games, man. It's not cheap to make games.
Yeah, but they're making a lot of money off of microtransactions. I'm gonna tell you myself in general. I buy the emotes every season. I haven't had I bought the season initially before it hit Game Pass because I have it on PlayStation. I mean, not PlayStation. I have it on Xbox for Game Pass and I have it on PC too. So I have it in both places. I also buy all of the emotes and stuff that they have that are tied to the season that gives you silver and stuff. And I know a lot of people that do that type of stuff too. And not only does that help Xbox, it also helps Bungie. And who knows what kind of contractual benefits they have with each other. It could be a situation where Bungie, for every piece of silver they sell, Microsoft doesn't charge them any type of fees for it, which is 30% on every piece of DLC that's bought. So
and that
just
actually can be more beneficial to them than getting a paycheck.
They get a paycheck because you have one of the premier games inside the service, which brings people into that service that they can spend money on other games and they get a chance to play other games that are in that service.
They can definitely use that. It's like, look, what we can do for you is go in Game Pass and any microtransaction that's bought, you keep all 100%. But I feel like they would probably still take 30 for the game itself.
They would still, if somebody bought it off of Game Pass, they would still probably take the 30%.
That 30% that they would give them for the microtransactions, they getting 100% of their microtransactions. That would make any company think twice. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's because
that's pure profit right there. The microtransaction side of it.
Not having to pay Microsoft that 30%, getting all the money for the microtransactions, which is going to be the bulk of the money at this point.
And the funny thing is, we came up with that off the top of our heads. There's no way you can't tell me that some publisher and game out there does not have that deal. Somebody has it. I don't know who has it.
Some of these deals was more public to know exactly what's going on.
I think the most public we're going to get is when Phil Spencer came out and actually said that, it's not a one size shoe fits all. He said there's multiple different deals for depending on the scale of the game, the size of the game, type of game that it is. So I guarantee you some studio, and I wouldn't put it past Bungie to have some type of deal like that. I know some, like they said, some deals are around downloads and how many people tried the game. Once they hit a certain threshold, they get a big payout from Microsoft on how many people downloaded the game and tried it. So I think there's all types of different algorithms out there that they're actually using, but it just really comes down to Microsoft has a lot of different ways to get people into the ecosystem when it comes to Game Pass from a publishing standpoint, and it's always a great thing for people.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see more of that in the future. I do personally feel like, everyone that feels like Game Pass is not in a good position. Uh, I think you guys are delusional. I don't think you're really paying attention. I do feel hilarious that some people, they go on and on all day long, every day, 24/7 about Xbox, but they have no real idea how the industry works. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, for instance, this scenario now with Game Pass and Outriders. Like, instead of blaming the publisher that gets all the money, we're gonna blame the service that the publisher put the money on, the game on. Like, makes no sense. Only people trying to blame Game Pass is people that don't understand how the industry works. Like, they didn't just put that game on there for free. They put it on there for a lot of money. Most likely, they put that on there for more money than they would have made off of selling it on the platform, because Microsoft's trying to get you got to think that's at that time when they were trying to really, dig deep and show that they had AAA games. And I know someone that made fun of me saying that I said that Outriders is a AAA product. Look, I guess technically it's a high-end AA, but I mean, at the end of the day, that is published by Square Enix. So don't you love how people have different definitions of what a AAA and AA is? That whatever is convenient for their conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I get it. Maybe technically that's not a AAA title. I don't like the word AAA and AA anyway, but it's just like, it is what it is, man. But
what about quadruple A?
Quadruple A. Oh god.
What about that one? When we gonna hear? When we gonna see that quadruple A Perfect Dark game?
Initial, yeah.
When we gonna see
wish
that?
They never would have said that. If that game flops, you're gonna see videos and people.
They're gonna say, "Man, the very first AAA quadruple A game that flopped. It was a banger that flopped."
So I definitely appreciate everyone for coming through. Appreciate for Gaming Forte coming through. Where can people find you at, Forte?
Man, you can find me in the Iron Lords chat every Sunday at the Lord's time of 1 p.m. until football season started. It'll be 11 a.m. But then you can also check me out on my channel, Gaming Forte, everywhere, YouTube, Twitter, Next Month's Live. DPS Podcast will be on my channel this week. If you missed last week's episode, it was on Slow-Mo's channel, which was a great show. We had 3-Bit on there, amazing guests, lot of stuff that I didn't know about this industry. I found out from him in just that episode alone. So please go to his channel and check it out, or subscribe to us on any of your favorite podcast networks, and you can find it over there too. Attic, it was a great show. Appreciate you, and you guys have a great week.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I am bringing it up the schedule. September the 5th is when we start our 11 a.m. day. No, the 12th is when we start our 11 a.m. debut. So it looks like it's going to be the 12th. So September the 12th, all the way through the majority of the football season, we will be going September the 12th. Also, keep in mind that I'm going to start streaming a little bit more. So probably tomorrow, I will be streaming probably the rest of Skyward Sword. I don't know how close I am to the end. I'm going to start trying to stream a couple days a week. Probably only make 2 videos a week, because I feel like, I need to work smarter, not harder. So I need to, separate my content, not just put all my eggs in one basket. Definitely follow me on Twitter at Lord Addict ILP. We're going to be also, if you are a channel member or a Patreon of the Iron Lords podcast, go on those posts and ask those questions, man, because we're about to do that podcast Saturday. It's probably going to go up next Tuesday or Wednesday. And it's going to be, we just, the Lords, Lord Cognito, Lord Sovereign, King David, and myself, we're going to be answering questions that you guys have to ask. It could be anything non-gaming related as well. It doesn't have to be just gaming. The only thing we really don't want to talk about is like politics and religion and stuff like that, because we try to be like a safe haven to get away from a lot of the real world problems. We don't really try to talk about it too much. But definitely go to those, man. Go to the Patreon. If you're a member, we have a post in the community tab. And if you're a Patreon, there's a post there. Ask those questions. Because probably here in the next 3 days, I'm going to be getting all those questions together. I'll probably post another post tomorrow to remind some people. But definitely go on there. And, until next time, this is Gaming Addict. We're out of here. Peace.